And to other matters now, in South Asia, tension is still mounting between India and Islamabad. That's Pakistan over missile strikes launched into the Pakistan-administered territory of Kashmir yesterday morning. The strikes killed at least 26 people, including a child. The India government says the operation targeted militant infrastructure linked to last month's deadly attack on tourists in Kashmir. We have a report.
Pakistan called the strikes an act of war and says it has shot down at least 5 Indian fighter jets in response, with debris falling into villages inside Indian-administered Kashmir. 7 civilians were also reportedly killed by Pakistani shelling. India says it targeted at least 9 sites used by militants, claiming the strikes were measured and non-escalatory. But Pakistani officials say mosques and civilian areas were hit, including one location tied to a banned extremist group. Kashmir has long been a flashpoint between these nuclear-armed rivals. This latest crisis follows an attack that killed 26 Indian Hindu tourists in the region, an act India blames on militants backed by Pakistan, a claim Islamabad denies. World leaders are now urging calm. The United Nations called for maximum restraint, while the U.S. Embassy in Pakistan warned Americans to avoid the border region. Meanwhile, Pakistan has reopened several airports and resumed some flights. In India, civil defense drills are underway and Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a top-level security meeting, reportedly postponing international travel. With both nations vowing not to back down, fears of a broader conflict are now growing.
Now, for more on the conflict between India and Pakistan, global affairs analyst Amuda Mosibudi joins me on the news from Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. Good to have you join us.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I want to first get your reaction to this latest escalation between India and Pakistan, considering just the history of conflict between both countries.
First, you know that, like you said, the history of conflict between the two countries, from 1947 to now, we've had a series of Indo-Pakistani war, and this was just something that was waiting to happen. Because of the strategic placement of Kashmir and how Kashmir has been the hub of the crisis between the two countries, the conflict between them was something that would have happened in the first, at any time. And that's why we are seeing this now. Unfortunately, it seems like the crisis is not going to go away. Even if this is resolved now, the bad blood that is existent between the two countries as a result of the polling division of 1947 will always raise its ugly head. And now lives have been lost as usual. It's not the first time. And marginalized groups will always be the ones who suffer the front most in this area.
And Pakistan has vowed to carry out its own form of retaliation for these latest strikes. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has described the strike as an act of war imposed by India. If you go with the retaliatory efforts retaliatory strikes also by Israel on Iran, you realize that it's never a proportional response. Isn't that now a climb up the escalatory ladder with this latest retaliatory moves by Pakistan?
Well, the truth remains that in this crisis between the two countries, the two of them are always, the two countries would always be quick to call the other one out as being the one that invoked or provoked the other party, because no one wants to be seen as the aggressor because of international reactions to it. So what Pakistan is also trying to do is to be seen as a victim and not the aggressor. Well, the reality remains that for cases that do not make the rounds or make the news, there are always series of attacks here and there, series of attempts to threaten the sovereignty and national security of the other country by both India and Pakistan. But this one has got to end. And Pakistan promising retaliatory attacks is only going to aggravate the situation. I think this is where the United Nations Security Council needs to come out and dig its feet in the ground on this issue, because we may not have seen the end of it. If Pakistan, if Pakistani decide to carry out the retaliatory attack, you can be sure India will also respond in appropriate measures, and it will get back and forth.
Now, when you also look at the military balance between both countries and how their defense forces compare, as well as the strength of their economies, in whose interest is it to negotiate?
Well, in the real sense of it, you see, when there are battles of ego, well, issues of whether you have economic interest to protect or not will not come in, because it is a battle of ego. And so it will be in the interest of both parties to negotiate, because whether you like it or not, any attack, in fact, if you look at the series of, Indo-Pakistani war, 1947-1965, it redounded on the economy of both countries in adverse areas. So it will be good for the two of them to negotiate. If we have another one now, if this transcends to a full-scale war between the two countries, lives will be lost, economy will be badly affected, and you can be sure that the two countries would have a lot of their citizens slipping more into poverty. So the two countries will be at an advantage to initiate a negotiation. It is not just about one of the countries initiating a negotiation in this instance. There will be no victor, no vanquished, I must tell you.
You've mentioned Russia has taken sides with India. President Trump has released a statement, but it doesn't really sound like he's interested in proactive diplomacy in this matter. When you look at the wars around the world, whether it's Israel, Hamas, Israel, Lebanon, Ukraine, Russia, Sudan, and then there is Democratic Republic of Congo, so many active conflicts around the world. Can we afford another war at this time, especially in such a volatile region?
Definitely not. Don't forget that what we are looking at here is that the Kashmir region does not just have India and Pakistan. There's also China. And given the state of, Sino-India relations, the relations between India and China, and of course, Pakistani relations, you see that there is a lot to be scared about, because when this war happens, the Tibetan side of Kashmir will also be badly affected. And you can be sure that that would mean that China will be coming into the fray. It's not going to bode well, because here now, major powers in the world will get involved, either by proxy or directly. And when major powers get involved in the war, it's going to be a war at a larger scale, beyond the shores of the two countries. So the best thing to do, and besides, we have, like you mentioned rightly, we have a lot of wars on our ends already, from Africa to Europe, and to even what we are having in the Pacific. And now here, we definitely need peace. We should not throw the line at all.
We're also talking about two countries with nuclear warheads. I'm not sure that's something anybody is predicting or wants at this moment, rather. Global Affairs Analyst Amuda Musibudi, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.